We're merched out. We're representing.
Yeah. Welcome to Weddings Uncensored, where we drink and talk and drink. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Allie. And this is where we break down the good, the bad, and the downright crazy of this whole wedding industry. Cheers!
Cheers.
Today we have a wonderful guest.
One of the baddest bitches in the area.
Welcome, Karla Alvarez, who has been working on my team for years, is a talented, wonderful, hilarious, magical witch of a wedding coordinator.
Yes. With the smiles, the energy, the love, the care,
I'm so happy
the
to be here.
to
Oh my God,
detail.
stop.
Yes.
My Leo moon is booming.
Yes.
We're so thrilled to have you. We've been actually wanting Karla to be on the podcast
Months.
for a really long time.
Maybe
This
a
is a
year.
long time coming. I'm
Honestly.
very
This is a long time
excited.
coming.
I've had major FOMO.
I know. And I was like, Karla, would you consider being on the podcast? She's like, yes. Like,
Instantly,
I've been waiting for you to ask
I was
me.
like, here's all my ideas. This is what I want to talk about. Give me like a season.
Yeah, you need your own season. But we'll start with today.
That's fine.
Will you give our listeners and viewers just a little background on you
us about
and
you.
I mean,
your
the
story?
intro you guys just gave was so good.
She's
like,
magical.
What else can I say?
But you gotta rid yourself up too a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been a wedding coordinator since 2018. I started because my sister got married, hired a wedding coordinator. I became like best friends with her wedding coordinator, Sierra. Shout out to Sierra. She taught me everything I know.
Sierra.
Introduced me to Allie, and then met like the most amazing women. And I think I had all these weird like skills from all the different industries I had worked in, and I realized like events was really where it was at. Like literally growing up Mexican and throwing huge barbecues in my backyard every
In your
weekend.
blood.
It was literally in my blood.
Yeah.
And then I
You're like,
worked
this is
in
easy.
political campaigns. I worked in real estate and management, and then I realized I was like, this is really what it is.
Yeah.
If you got
And
your
then
Mexican parties and political campaigns, I think you can take on anything at that
literally
point. Yeah.
yeah. And it's great, and I feel like the most myself
Mhm.
in weddings. I feel like I can, like, Allie really taught me like be yourself and do what you're good at and you'll kill it. And I feel like that's really what we do.
Yeah, that
for
is what
sure.
that is what we do.
Good
Cheers
job,
to that.
Allie.
Cheers to that. I love it. Well, good. Well, Karla did a lot of very fun research for today's episode, and so I feel like we should just dig right into it because we have a lot to cover.
Let's do it.
This is true.
Can you just give us a little background of what you were gathering and what we're going to talk about?
Totally. So you guys asked me, like, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to bring on the pod? And I realized that in doing wedding coordination, we rarely get to debrief with our clients. So I, like, all of them are like, oh my God, like, let's get drinks after, or
Yeah.
like whatever. Or like they want to talk about it, but they go off on their honeymoons, and there's not really like any obligation.
Well, and
Life
we're busy.
Yeah.
We're like on to the next,
On to
not
the-
in
Yeah,
a not in a
no,
mean way,
for
but
sure.
like
You know how many people say we got to meet up after the wedding?
yeah. So we send like an email debrief real quick at the end, like, thank you, it went great, and
Yeah.
then that's it.
Yeah.
So I kind of really was interested in like the feedback and the debrief of like what clients were thinking after. I'm like, what would you do differently? What advice do you have for other people? And I feel like clients love that because they've learned so much throughout this whole process.
Yeah.
And then it's just over.
Yeah.
So I reached out to a lot of my clients from this year, and I asked them really specific questions about what those exact things of like, what would you do differently? What did you learn? And like, what advice do you have for future couples?
Love
So
it.
number one, what are one or two things you would have done differently or wish you knew about weddings prior to planning your wedding? Number two, what's one question you still have about wedding planning or the wedding industry? And three, what's one piece of advice you would give to future couples planning their wedding? And then after that, I got a lot of feedback from clients. I realized, wow, this question is valuable to vendors as well. So I reached out to vendors and I asked them similar questions, basically saying, as a wedding professional, what's your number one piece of advice for couples planning their wedding? And what's your number one piece of advice for vendors who work in the wedding industry?
I love
Nice.
it.
So we got a lot of feedback. And so we said we'd start with vendors first.
Yeah.
So Cindy from Fundamental, shout out Fundamental.
Sorry, everybody. I just knocked over the entire table.
Jesus, Allie.
So Cindy from Fundamental answered the vendor
Which is a
question.
catering company.
A catering
Yes.
company, our favorite in the business.
Yep.
and this is really valuable across vendors across the board. So they said, transparency is so important. I would suggest presenting as much information as possible during the contracting process so there are no hidden fees for clients. Sometimes vendors expect couples to know things that may seem like common sense to those of us in the wedding industry, but are in fact not common knowledge for all clients at all. I think vendors should be really careful and thorough when starting the contracting process so nobody ends up feeling like they were treated unfairly.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen, Cindy from Fundamental Catering.
100%.
Well, and I think it's like the number one reason that the wedding industry has a bad rap, right? Is like the lack of transparency, or like, oh, later down the road, they charged us this and this and we didn't see these fees. I mean, I hear it all the time. Even in my initial sales call with people, they'll be like, but what about like they're almost digging for like what else is in there? This can't be this easy because my goal is
what
to
about
make
the
it
sales tax.
Yeah.
Is that in the contract or
Yeah.
is that not in the contract?
They're literally asking what is not here that you will charge me later. Like that's almost as directly as they're charging.
Right.
And I think
because that is what people are doing, which is
Yes.
fucked up, but it's true.
I think my advice would literally be, if it's possible in your industry and service, to wrap up those fees as cohesively as possible into one price, then do that.
Yeah.
And like, you're going to have some couples that go a little bit more work into it and some that are a little bit less. But I feel like if as cohesively as possible, which I think is something we do, I know it's harder in other industries, but I think if they can do that, I think couples would be a lot happier at the end of the day.
Totally. Yeah. It feels like they're being nickel and dimed when there's this line item, this line item, this line item. And as vendors, again, yes, it's different per vendor industry, but we kind of know the amount of hours we're going to spend. We kind of know what this is going to look like. And yeah, I agree. I think it evens out. I have more challenging clients and we have easier clients. And so I look at it as, okay, I spent maybe a few more hours on this and a few less hours on that, and it'll even out.
Yeah.
But even just having the pricing on our website is so uncommon that we get comments on like sales calls. I can't believe you had that. Like, what the fuck is wrong with our industry that is so rare,
and
you know?
I think a lot of vendors would make the argument of, well, so many other fees come up. But I think if you, like you said,
Figure
if
it
you
out.
do enough, weddings in the process, you know what fees are going to come up.
Yes.
Or at least be transparent in those like consultation meetings. Like, I just had a friend who got married that was complaining that she was like, I didn't realize that like travel fees were going to include like my hair and makeup artist like meals for the day. And she was like, well, it was in the contract. And she's like, well, I didn't know to like read these things. So like if she would have just told me up front, like, this is my travel
the cost
fee
and this is what's included, you know
Right,
what I mean? Versus
right.
like, I don't know, if it's like a fine line detail, I think it's a la carte basically. I think if you're a vendor, like we'll take photo, right? A professional one, you shouldn't just say, "Oh yeah, I got your wedding photography. Cool. Here's a contract. Sign it. Here's a price, and that's it." You should definitely lay out of like what is included.
Yeah.
But at least what I do is I'll do an a la carte section, and it's all the same. You know, it's on our website, so our prices are transparent. But if there is an additional fee that the client may get, I just put it as an a la carte, the same size, same format,
As the rest
right
of the contract,
underneath
yeah.
what is actually included. That way, if it does come up, it's not hidden underneath like force majeure, and you know, like, it's not
And
sneakily
when
in
people
there.
think you're being shysty, 'cause
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you hit it on page 5.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is smack dab in between. Like, here's the date. Here's what you're getting.
Yeah.
Here are things that you can purchase for additional, and here's your final here's your retainer amount, and here's your final payment date. So it's all in there. So I think
And clients are willing to pay these things if they understand what they
That's
are
it,
and
yeah.
if they make sense. If you're hiding them in your contract, that's when it starts to look like, okay,
Shady.
these are
well, you're being
and,
shady.
and
Yeah.
these are not like reasonable things.
Right.
If they're transparent up front, then it kind of shows like a good faith. And also, as a vendor, you're gonna have a way better process
Yes.
in the long run with good reviews, good relationships with other vendors, good relationships with clients, referrals, all these things. If they didn't feel like that kind of left a sour taste, like they were
Yes.
really good at their job, but they left a sour taste in my mouth because their contract wasn't clear.
You want to be transparent.
1,000%. And I think the other really important piece to pull out of Cindy's quote is just that clients don't know. Like, it is our responsibility as vendors to educate our clients.
Yes.
They don't know, and it's okay. They work at Bank of America. I'm a wedding planner. Like, these are totally different things. And it is my job to teach them. So having it be transparent in your contract for sure, but like, talk about it. Ask them questions, because they don't even know what questions to ask you. So I think that that's equally as important, is, you know, not assuming that they know what a highlight reel even fucking means, or, you know, what a BTS content, what add-on would look like. They don't know. Yeah.
I'm starting to realize that in this industry, especially as oversaturated as the wedding industry is, with so many vendors being like, there's so many amazing videographers, there's so many amazing photographers, so many amazing coordinators. I think it really makes the difference when, like, I don't care how talented as a photographer that you are, if you are taking the extra second to handhold your client and teach them like A, B, C of the wedding industry, that's what's going to separate me as a wedding coordinator to recommend this photographer versus this one. And like, I just dealt with this recently with, you know, a photographer that double booked, and I had to scramble for a photographer at the last minute. And the people that I thought of to replace this photographer were people that I loved working with, because I could not risk having another fallout. And I was like, these are the people that I know will not
the experience will be good.
It will not fuck up in any way. And it's like, I didn't care about the
price, didn't care.
I didn't care if you were published in Vogue. I didn't care if you were in Brides. I just cared about that, like, you were solid and reliable. And that includes being transparent in your contracts, I think.
I think it's just a good reminder, though, for everybody. I mean, we're all guilty of it. We get busy, we do things, we make assumptions that our clients understand things, and it's just really important to remember as vendors that it is our responsibility to do that for our clients.
1,000.
Good one. Good job, Cindy from Fundamental Catering.
Let's go, Cindy.
And that was universal across like all vendors.
Yes.
Okay. So another vendor to vendor advice was from Wes from Good Mood. We also love Wes. DJ. He said, please don't ask a fellow vendor to do some event or proceed with some planned part of the day without confirming with the coordinator or planner first. Sometimes a videographer or a catering person will tell me, the DJ, it's time for toasts, and expect me to just jump right into it. I always confirm with the coordinator first, so that we know that the people who are toasting are actually in the room, the bride and groom are actually at where they're supposed to be, and other vendors who may need to be ready are actually in the room. Just because the timeline says it's time to do something does not mean it's go time. Always get the green light from your planner.
100%.
Yeah, I think that that's super huge. And it might not be just catering trying to cue things. I think my biggest issue is when DJs try to run their own program. So Wes from Good Mood obviously is not doing that.
Which is why we love to work
with them. We love to work with them. But I think it's just for vendors to remember that this is a team sport, and that we all have to be on the same page. And like, there might be a reason we've pushed back. Like, as coordinators, there is probably a reason we've pushed back. Maybe that's coming from catering, maybe that's coming from the bride, maybe a million things going on.
A lot of people just think like, oh, it's like the toaster's here, like, let's just go. And it's like, dinner has to happen on time.
You're a ball boy, okay? You're not even in the game. You're a ball boy, all right? Just wait.
Like, I will give you the thumbs up when it's time. Like, dinner is like, I don't know, not ready yet. If we start now and the toast is over, then people are going to be sitting around with no dinner in front of them. So if, like, we wait 10 more minutes, then, like, the flow works better. Or photos on in their place, or photo has to set up lighting, or mic the toaster, or
the groom had to pee. I mean, there's 5 million things going on. And so, I mean, and that is why you have a coordinator or a planner. So there is a ringleader of this crazy circus going on. So I agree with Wes in the sense that, like, when another vendor really goes rogue and is like, thinks that they're running the show, that's really hard.
Well, like, the job of the planner and coordinator is to plan and coordinate the wedding. You're a DJ. You are not there to plan and coordinate their wedding.
Right.
You are there to follow the planner and coordinator's script, which is called a timeline.
And just assume that people know something that you don't.
Yes.
Right? Like, just assume that if something is not happening the way it should, you can always ask. You can, like, touch base with the coordinator and say, hey, are we going? Are we on time? Are we not? But always assume that if they say no, that it's not just because they're sitting on their ass somewhere. And just, like,
there's a reason.
That there's a reason we're waiting.
And sometimes, honestly, it may look like we're sitting on our ass.
Right.
Mhm.
But we're legit. We can't do anything because the groom is going to the bathroom, or
Yeah.
the dad that's giving the toast is going to the bathroom, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a-
Someone's in the bathroom.
Someone's in the. Well, it's a wedding. With
The coordinator's in the bathroom.
Coordinator's in the bathroom.
Someone's in a bathroom. You know.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I think that is also like that makes me think of on the other side too, as a coordinator. I think the main time of the day where I don't feel super in control of the timeline is usually like photo video of like maybe pre-ceremony, right? So like we have 90 minutes pre-ceremony where they're doing a first look and they're doing things. And that's where I really have to like lean in on the photo video team and trust them to manage things. Cause I'll do that too, where I'm like, why aren't they doing, they should be doing this right now.
Yeah,
but guess what? I probably don't know. There's probably a reason that because I'm running around doing 5 million other things, the bride's dress, you know, had a fuck up and we're worried about safety pins and that's happening. So yeah, trusting each other, staying in communication and not ever just assuming that you're the boss applesauce and you can make it happen.
Is there nothing better than when you guys are on a wedding day and you're like, wow, this team just flows.
Yeah.
Like we're
Fucking
all
love
like,
it.
we just
Oh,
like
yeah, it's
trust each
great.
other and everyone's like, no, you got it. You got like,
Well, I was even thinking the example you just gave, and I'm like, oh, when it's a pop wedding, I just go about my day. Literally, the only
Yeah.
communication I have with like actual like either you or Danny or Karla, whoever it is on that day, it's very much like, hey, this is on the timeline. Just giving you an update. We're here right now.
Yeah.
Hey, just giving you an update. First look is done. Hey, just giving you an update.
Beautiful.
Family photos are
Yeah.
done. Hey,
Yeah.
just giving you an update. The couple's back in the room. We're ready for the ceremony. I'm off to go do this.
Totally.
It's like 4 text messages,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you know, or like 4 little conversations, but that's about it.
Yeah.
We're seamless, right? Like the rest of the timeline's good.
Totally.
Yeah,
And I
perfect
understand,
world,
like,
so.
if you've never worked with us before, like, you're not sure how we work or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's totally fine. Come up to me, ask me how the day is
Mm-hmm.
going to go. Let's check in. Let's run through the timeline. And once I have reassured you, then don't question me.
Yes,
Yeah. Like,
exactly.
I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right?
You hired me for a
And-
reason.
Yeah, and it's so lovely when you just know that everybody is like trusting each other to do, and also
Yeah.
covering each other's asses. Like if I had this happen recently where a bride like hadn't eaten a DoorDash delivery. I ordered her DoorDash really quick. I was like, I need my bride to eat. DoorDash is delivered, and literally I had to ask like the second shooter to like, I'm like, yo, can you go? The DoorDash guy is calling me. He can't find the entrance.
Yep.
I'm in the middle of this. Can you go grab the bride's like food?
Yeah.
And that photographer could have decided, hell no,
It's
I'm
not my
not your
job.
bitch boy.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, of course, we're a team.
Yeah.
And like,
Let's
this
do it.
bride needs to eat. Like,
Yeah.
of course. And so, like, he ran out, met the DoorDash guy. It was great. And like, it's just when you work as a
Shout out
team,
DoorDash.
I
Yeah.
think that's all, it makes all the difference.
It's so true. Yeah, you're right though. There is like that flow and it feels so
Yeah.
good and you're like, yeah, my
Yeah.
fucking homies
Well,
got it.
even on the
And it's
morning.
fun.
It
Even on
is
the morning, I'm like looking at the
fun.
timeline. I'm like, where are we at? Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good-
Awesome.
it's a good
Sweet.
feeling.
It's gonna be a good day. Man, don't worry about it. It's gonna be an easy day today.
Yeah.
I'm going to get home
Yeah,
happy.
yeah.
don't
I'll get
worry.
home in a decent hour, yeah. But I think, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this in past episodes too, though, like from vendor to vendor, like this is not about your ego or your craft
Yeah.
For
or your
sure.
fucking whatever you
Yeah.
think is best. This is about making sure the client stays successful, period, end of story. I don't care about what you want.
Yeah.
And I
Seriously.
find, unfortunately, that it's the most experienced vendors. Actually, fortunately, the most experienced vendors are the ones that are like willing to work together.
Yeah.
It's the newer ones that are like competing
to-
or trying or like with the ego in the room
Yeah.
or whatever.
They're trying to show up.
And
you know?
yeah, and I'm like, let the experienced people
Yeah.
do their job. And
Yeah.
also, like, you want to like, don't you want to have good relationships with the people
Don't
you
wanna-
work with?
Yeah, well,
like,
also not be stressed on the wedding day.
Yeah,
you know, Like,
right.
if you're carrying that, like, oh, I have to do the best and I have to be the best, you're not having a good time. That's immediately going to bleed into the other vendors, or it
Yeah.
can affect the other
Mhm.
vendors or the couple. Worst
Yeah.
case scenario, because I know
Yeah.
if I'm having a bad day on a wedding day and I'm talking to the bride or the groom or whoever it is or parents and I don't have a good attitude, no one's going to want to be recorded by me.
right.
Yeah.
right.
Nobody. You're going to beeline it and go to the bar. You don't want to talk to me.
Totally.
you know?
That grumpy videographer.
Yeah, exactly.
And that goes for all the vendors,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yes.
everyone has to be happy and getting along for the sake of the couple, because
Mhm.
when you're getting married, I say this to my assistants all the time. It's like, it's so funny before the ceremony and after the ceremony, what the family is like.
Mhm.
Like, they are completely different
Yeah.
people. After the ceremony, they're like the sweetest people in
Yeah,
the world.
it's so true.
Like, weight off their chest. They're like, oh, that went amazing. The rest
So
of the day is
good.
going to be
It was
great.
so good.
But before, like, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, this person is like,
Usually the
I'm
parents.
scared, right?
Usually the
yeah,
parents.
or they don't trust you.
Yeah.
Is she gonna do this?
And
Yeah.
so when you're that on edge,
Yeah.
like, you pick up on other people's
Yeah.
edginess, and then
Mhm.
it's just
it's
it can be really bad.
Yeah, it
So when
really
you
is.
go into these things, like these events, it truly helps to like, also, we're the experienced ones. We're
Yes.
around these high tension events constantly. It's our job to like bring the mellow, the flow, and the fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
That's a
all
good
the
one.
time clients would be like, "How are we on time? How are we on time? Well, how's the timeline?"
It's like, we're good.
Guys, it's
Don't
fine.
even worry about
Yeah.
it.
It's your wedding.
Yeah.
We ain't rushing anywhere.
Literally.
Nothing is happening without you. Maybe cocktail hour.
Until I'm actually rushing them and yelling at them.
yeah. No, but like if they legit want to do something, and
Yeah,
I'd be like,
yeah.
"Guys, it's
Yeah, it's your
whatever
day.
you want
Yeah,
to do."
it makes me I like literally laugh when a client's like, are we on time? Are we on time? And I'm like, I'm here to make sure we're on time.
Yeah.
right.
You're here to have fun.
Yes,
So
exactly.
don't you dare ask me one more
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Okay, this one was from a recent client, Jennifer and Dariush.
Okay.
They got married at Millwick.
Love Millwick.
They said something which I think was really valuable. So they said, don't be discouraged to have a wedding. There were several factors that kept us from wanting to throw a wedding at all, including family drama, politics, cost, our own introvertedness, traditional customs and religion, our generation's tendency to not want to get married. But with all of that said, celebrating with our loved ones was priceless. Celebrate with your special day however you want to, whether it's big or small, a celebration at all is worth it. And so a couple of clients said this. And I think, I mean, that's how I feel. I think despite being in the wedding industry, if
Yeah.
anything, because of it, I don't necessarily feel like I need one.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say is like, there is nothing more beautiful than like these couples truly being in awe that every single person that they love and adore is in that room
Yeah.
at the same time. And so I think like the number one thing people say is like, there wasn't enough time, right?
Mhm.
And it's because it's so special to have that moment. And then also to know that it's about you.
Yeah.
Like, when other than your birthday party, right, do you get to be like, this is about me and I feel so loved. I feel like to be able to throw that in any capacity, whether it's at your house or at a venue, I think is really special. So.
And your people want to celebrate you
Right.
too, you know? And that does make a lot of people feel uncomfortable. My wedding on Saturday, actually, I had a whole like hour-long phone call with the couple yesterday. They were like,
Oh,
we
really?
just, you know, I don't want to be the center of attention. I feel like I'm being high maintenance. All these
Yeah.
insecurities that they were having. And I was like, but nobody feels that way. All your vendors are excited to serve you.
Mhm.
All your guests are excited to come and celebrate you. Like,
Yeah.
this is all in your head,
For
you know?
sure.
And yeah, well, I mean, I'm always a fan of a party. I think everything deserves a celebration. So
Yeah.
weddings certainly should. But I think another important part of that quote too is like, whatever makes you feel like this is the right party. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a 200 person
Totally.
thing. It could be eloping and having,
It can
a
be
small
whatever
dinner
you want
party
it to
or
be.
whatever.
Yeah.
But that it is a milestone worth celebrating in
Yeah.
some sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to make it to whatever you want it to, where you're like, I don't know, I just don't want to regret anything. You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes couples can make decisions about what they will regret in a good or bad sense. Like, sometimes it can be like the tattoo artist. Maybe we regret part of that, but we were still really happy with having a tattoo artist. You know what I mean? Ultimately, I know that they were happy, or the couple that we're talking about, the couple
Did
was
they
happy.
get a tattoo? They didn't.
Yeah, no,
like?
there was another. The last episode was
sorry, I'm
we
not caught
talked
up.
about. No, you're good. The last episode we talked about how a couple got a tattoo artist, but then there's a lot of pros and cons about
Uh-huh.
it. But I think ultimately the couple was still really stoked about having a
Yeah,
tattoo artist. So
totally.
I think it's just still leaning in on the idea of just keep doing what you want to do for your wedding. It can
For
be
sure.
how many days, X amount of people, doesn't matter the location. It can be a backyard. It can be Millwick. It can be the Paramore State,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So
Yeah, I think it's something that's really special about like the end of the day, for like the end of the wedding day, and your client is over the moon. They're so happy with everything that happened. It's almost, some of my clients, it's almost like they're surprised that all these people showed up for them. When it's like they knew the guest count, they knew the guest list, they knew people RSVP'd, but they truly like never realized how much love they felt that day. And like, I know we do 100 million weddings, but like, we're not jaded. Like I will cry like at a ceremony, like and that moment is so special where I'm like, yeah, these people were here for you, dude.
Yeah.
Like they weren't here to drink for the open bar. They weren't here for the food. Those were all like the perks. They were truly here for you. I just had one of my best friends just got married, and everybody traveled from out of state to come to this wedding where she grew up, and she could not, like, she just sat there and she was like, all of you showed up for us. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think you know that you have friends that love you, but when they're all in that room celebrating you, I think it's like, you're like, oh damn, like these people do love me and this is great. And a lot of people like need that reminder too. So yeah. I maybe won't have a wedding for myself, but
We'll see. I'll remind you of Jennifer's quote.
You're like, actually, we're
Jennifer from Millwick in 2024 said that you should have a wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad that we're recording this now. We'll play this at my wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, more couple to couple advice. Let's see. So this is Sophia and Christian. They got married at Grassroom. They also had their ceremony at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, which is like that cute little puppet
Oh yeah,
theater.
I remember this couple.
Yeah,
I did content creation for this couple.
You were there.
Yeah. So
You
like,
were at the wedding.
Show and then, yeah.
Amazing couple. So nice. So they sent their feedback in audio form.
Love it.
Okay, so for what I've done differently, it's mainly just budgeting advice or things that I wish I'd known or flagged earlier on in the planning process. A huge one, I think, is make sure you're accounting for service charge and sales tax being added for obviously catering, and I feel like our catering vendor did a good job of that, but any food-centered event. So like a welcome dinner, a farewell brunch, even if you're getting an outside kind of like dessert vendor, just make sure that you are including the service charge and sales tax in your estimate of what you're going to be paying, because this can easily add thousands to what you think you're paying, and it can really suck if you did not plan for that. So that's something I wish I had just paid more attention to.
I think she also add something at the end about
She adds
wish she
about
knew about
gratuity. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also vendor tips. That's something that wasn't really on our radar when we were planning the wedding budget. So that was left to the very end. And it kind of sucks to have to come up with that money like a week before the wedding, because there's so many amazing vendors you work with and you really want to acknowledge their work. So I think it's just a good idea to plan for that earlier on in the planning process.
Yeah. Very good.
Love it.
Well, budgeting is something I think that is the hardest part of wedding planning for a lot of people, and especially if you're not hiring a professional planner that's really going to walk you through, because you're pulling really arbitrary numbers out of the air of like, I think catering will cost $10,000. I think like you're Googling what it says on the knot, but that's not accurate to every market. I mean, so, and having clear communication about budgeting. What is your parents, what are they gifting you? What are their expectations around it? I mean, this is such a huge stressful part of wedding planning.
It's money. And money is always stressful.
Money is stressful, and it comes along with strings attached from people if they are, investing in your wedding and they are, gifting you things. There's a lot of social and like cultural expectations along with it. So she's talking specifically about this line item of like gratuity and sales tax. And again, kind of we talked about the hidden fees and things like that. But I think it's like even on a greater level is like, how can we plan for these small things early on so that they're not shitty surprises down the road?
Also, you don't know what you don't know, right? Yes. So like you might be thinking in numbers of like venue, catering, bar, but you don't realize, oh wait, florist, photo booth, rentals, like all these little line items that you don't know if you don't hire a planner that's kind of telling you what you need.
Yeah.
And then at the end you're like, oh crap, I need a card box. So like, oh crap, I need a seating chart, like all these little numbers. And then also, are you considering like your attire as part of your budget or not?
Rings.
And rings, oh my gosh.
Honeymoon.
Yeah.
There's like all these little things. Transportation. Like there's so much. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
I immediately got overwhelmed.
I know.
And I think your budget tracker does a really good job of like line iteming those things.
Oh, why thank you.
You're
The
welcome.
budget tracker.
I use it myself.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. If you haven't already, get the workbook.
Our
service.
workbook. Our workbook
Workbook.
available on Etsy for only $25 has a
Work,
whole
work,
budget
work,
tracker
work,
in it.
work.
But I think it kind of goes back to also like what Cindy said though too. Like this, it is our job as vendors to educate people and to let them know of what kind of costs can come up.
Right.
And so yeah, taking a step back and just like talk about it so early. I think that is the main problem is people go into planning and then they make a budget like halfway through planning. I hear that all the time from clients. And they're like, "Oh, we're already over budget." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, cuz you didn't really have a budget to start."
Yeah.
Right.
And you're setting yourself up for failure.
And having those hard conversations early on, like I know if your parents are helping you pay for things, okay, are they gifting you the money and you get to do whatever you want with it? Or are they paying it directly to the vendor? And if so, how do you want to do that process?
Yeah.
I have friends and clients that are constantly like, "Hey, our mom said that she would pay for this, but like she won't send me the money, and like should I just send her the invoice? Like what do you think?" And it's like you need to have, if your mom is saying she's paying for hair and makeup, be like, "Okay, cool. Do you want to just give me your credit card information and I pay it, or do you want me to send you the invoice and you process it? Should I just put you in contact with the hair and makeup people directly, or am I managing this?" Like the logistics of
Or just
those
asking for a
conversations.
specific number.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Well,
you
that's-
want to cover hair and makeup? Thank you so much. Can you let me know of like what that looks like
for you.
What is that actual
Right.
financial number? Because hair and makeup, I got 6 bridesmaids or I got 2 bridesmaids, but the amount of how much hair and makeup I want to do may differ depending on how much you can help.
Yeah, that's
So,
my favorite tip that we
you
talk
know.
about in our budget episode. You can go back
Yes.
and listen to our
Go
whole
watch and-
episode about it along with buying our worksheet.
Don't pause it. Go
But
watch it.
dad thinks a DJ costs $600, but the DJ you want is $1,600, and so it's not dad's gonna pay for the DJ.
Daddy's gonna put
Dad's gonna give
$600
me
towards-
$2,000 to
yeah.
put towards this or
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so that is super important. Is what is the number, not what's this arbitrary vendor you're covering,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the expectations are gonna be totally different.
Newsflash:
Totally.
the DJ actually wasn't just $800 or $1,600. It was $4,500.
Yeah.
Right,
Guess
right.
what? You're
Yeah.
definitely not getting the DJ that you really wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we should also go back to hone your vision, because if DJing is really important to you, don't skimp out on something that your parents said they'll cover too, you know?
Also understanding the costs and what a DJ costs, right? Like
Yes.
you're paying for the DJ, but like are they renting like audio, or does your venue have audio? Is that an additional cost? Like do you want lighting too, or
Want
is that a
uplights?
separate
Do
vendor?
you want
Yeah.
the pss, pss lights? Or do
Totally.
you want the pss lights, you know?
I think that's how it's written in the contract. It's do you want the bzz lights or the I can't even
Yeah.
do this now.
No, those were pretty good ASMR DJ sounds. I think another like really granular thing that I want to bring up though that relates specifically to what she was talking about was like these service fees with food.
Yeah.
Is your catering is really a tricky, slippery slope, and there's so many little branches of what can come up. For example, okay, we hired this caterer. We wanted, Border Grill is going to make these deep fried chimichangas. Well, the rental for the deep fryer is extra. And actually, the venue doesn't allow a deep fryer, so we actually had to rent a tent so that it would be outside. So, like, one little decision that you want can end up really being a landslide of financial consequences. And I think that is, of course, you wouldn't think of that when you're planning your wedding. Of course, you wouldn't consider all of those different things,
Or even the weather. You know?
Yeah. So I think it's really, with food specifically, there are a lot of little pieces that can add up very quickly.
So about these laws on these vendors or these venues.
I was literally
no.
he
So
was about to,
no,
I don't know
I'm
what he's
I'm
about to
continuing
do.
the
No, you're
conversation.
not. No, you're not.
I have a mic. I have the power. So some venues probably have rules that they can't.
Are we
that
wait.
yes. Oh, we're still going. Yes, 100%. Fuck it. No, there's venues that can or cannot allow certain types of other vendors, whether if it's because of a fire code or if it's something else. And I think if you want to have a vendor at a venue, I think it would be helpful to ask the question of, have you been here before, or can we service at this venue? Or asking your venue, can I hire said?
That's actually
these
really
vendors?
valid. And it's like, and what?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said.
Kyle makes a lot of really dumb comments, okay?
I'm gonna say they're dumb.
That's what the people are here for.
They're a little bit. You just need to make sense. It's the ADD. It's fine. We have to make sense
it's
of them.
all sorts of stuff.
We're the coordinators to make sense.
Yes,
of the
thank
chaos.
you. I just press record.
We'll guide you.
Okay, all right. I depend on you.
He's
two.
just the pretty face.
I depend on you two.
So what you're trying to say is like, as a vendor, it's your job to know or ask the questions of, can I operate at this venue,
Yes.
or
Correct.
will additional costs be required?
Yes.
Correct.
And so an example of this would be at, a country club or like a Malibu Wines venue where, you're bringing everything from outside and you hire a DJ. As a DJ, it is your job to be like, hey, I need a generator to run power here.
Yeah.
I have no audio, so here's the rental cost for the audio system I have to bring in. And also, are you providing a table? Because I don't have a table, so that's all additional cost. So it's your job, again, goes back to what we were saying earlier, it's your job to educate the client on what they need, and they can look into what those costs are, or you can provide them as line items on your contract.
Yes.
Yep.
And so I think those are really important things that clients just don't know.
No, yeah.
And it's like, let's stop blindsiding our clients or like punishing them for what they don't know. Also punishing them for not having a planner that would know.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Like, I understand the value of a planner, and you want to work with clients that have a planner because it makes your job easier, but also be good at your job.
Yeah.
If you're good at your job, then, you can help these clients that can't bring on a planner for whatever reason.
I mean, I feel like I should really say, for couples that don't have a planner, weddings are 5 times more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
5 times more difficult. When a planner is not
5
there,
is a low number.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks
I
because at least for photo video, I'm like, I end up being the person that I'm making the timeline.
Yeah.
And now that timeline, all the other people are asking for this timeline too.
And
And
that- and-
I have to make decisions about what is going to flow well and best to my experience. And yeah, I can do that, but like, you didn't hire me to plan your wedding. You hired me to take photos of your wedding. So that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, I feel like you guys talk about this a lot on the podcast.
Yeah.
Is like, if you're not hiring a planner, someone else is going to do that job,
It's-
or a coordinator for the day.
It's really hard to get the emphasis across to everybody, like
Of how
why
important it
you
is, yeah.
need
Well,
to have
here's
a planner.
like, I'm telling you, my
oh yeah, go
clients
for
are
it. Go.
literally
Yes, go please.
it's-
Perfect timing.
And it's not even to toot our own horn. Like, I can't explain to you how
Toot,
many.
toot!
Also, toot, motherfucking toot.
Two.
Like, it's
Go ahead.
we
and
were
read.
able. Let's see.
No, go ahead and find it.
Da-da-da-da. We were able to have such a great time and not stress on the day because we had amazing vendors, specifically Pop the Champagne. Book vendors you can trust. The day will go by so fast and you'll want to be present. Book Pop the Champagne. Get a planner. Enjoy the season of life because it goes by quickly, and try not to let the stress get in the way of that enjoyment. Make sure you and your partner are on the same page with planning. Let me
Keep it
see.
going.
Not to sound totally up Pop the Champagne's ass, but I'll give you the advice that you should always have a month of or day of coordinator. It was the best thing I could have done and something I consider a non-negotiable. As mentioned with how fast it goes, handling extra BS is simply not possible on your wedding day.
Didn't another guy leave a voice message too?
Yes.
Yeah, like
Yeah. Let
Yeah.
me pull that up.
a groom.
A groom.
A groom responded.
If the groom
If
said-
the groom even responded and said, "Wow,
Okay.
absolutely."
This is Christian from Sophia and Christian at Grassroom.
One piece of advice I would give to future couples, and I promise I'm not being paid to say this, but would be to consider hiring a month of coordinator. I had no idea that was even a role kind of going into the process, and I'll just say that it just made the whole experience a million times easier, especially the closer you got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
Thank you, Christian.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think that this is important because I started my coordination business 2013, so 11 years ago.
Let's go.
And day of coordination was a thing, but it still was like, not a lot of venues didn't require it. It still took a lot of like explaining. People didn't really understand what it was. Now I think it's a more common term. A lot of venues require it. Vendors are recommending, like, it's more like in the zeitgeist of the wedding culture that this is something that's important. But even that being said, there's still a lot of people that don't understand the rule, don't see the value, don't really get it. I still get so many calls. Well, my venue requires that I hire you, so I'm hiring you.
And
okay, well, I'm grateful for that, but also,
but
like,
also the value that I'm about to bring to your life.
let me blow your fucking mind right now, because you're gonna be really changing. You're changing your tune.
I'm a big analogy person. Having not having a coordinator or a month of or a planner is like having a body with no bones. You're not gonna go anywhere. Mic drop.
All right, see you next Tuesday.
What? I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
No.
Just agree with me,
I would
Karla.
say,
depend
yeah,
on
a
her.
body with no brain.
Yes.
Like,
I
there's
said
nothing.
bones. I didn't say brain.
I mean, bones, but same thing. Like,
we're missing a core system.
We're missing something.
We're missing a core
We're missing
system.
something where we can't function.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
and you're gonna have a wedding, like, without a coordinator. You're gonna have it,
You'll be there.
but it's not gonna, like, a lot of people are like, a lot of my clients, when I meet them, they tell me instantly, we already know something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
We already know, like, it's not going to be what we expect. And we know we're going to be stressed. And I'm like, wait. Actually, you can have everything you want.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, maybe something will go wrong. But more often than not, nothing goes wrong because we plan for these things. Because now you have a coordinator.
Yeah.
So all the people you're talking to where things went wrong at their wedding, like, they either didn't have a coordinator or a planner, or sorry, they didn't hire us.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally
Didn't
how
have a
I
good.
feel.
I didn't have a good
A
coordinator.
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so more often than not, I mean, I can't guarantee that nothing is going to go wrong, but, like, if something does, you're not going to feel it as hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's that easy. I mean, the expense of a month of coordinator, truly, it, like, so many of these clients that I talk to are just like, it's priceless.
Yeah.
Like, I would pay so much
The best
more
investment that we made.
and it was one that we thought we could go without.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, again, you can go without it, but
Mm.
it's going to make the difference between you feeling like you got everything you wanted, or, you know, you got your wedding that was just a little chaotic and fast
100%.
and you don't remember anything, and, like, did you eat, or, like, did that person eat, did this happen, like,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
No workbook. No, even ours.
totally.
No workbook. No Etsy how to plan your wedding guide. No anything can
Is gonna replace
replace
that.
an actual
Professional,
coordinator.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not. Gonna
There
happen.
is a reason why venues require it.
Yeah.
There are vendors at this point that, I mean, maybe now that they can't be as selective about their business, but when a vendor is, like, really, really busy, they're like, you know what, I'm going to ask you if you have a coordinator, and that's going to be the decision of whether or not I book you.
Yeah.
We have a
100%.
florist that we work with all the time, Meg from Little Branch,
Yeah.
who literally offers a discount to clients that hire us.
It's not
like,
just
and it's not like
Little
we're
Branch.
like, you know what I mean? But, like, that's how important it is to them.
Eve does that.
Yeah.
Wes does that. I don't know if they're still doing that. Maybe
Shore and Wave
everything.
does it.
Yeah.
Shore and Wave does it.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to work with us.
Yeah.
And it's truly the service that we're providing is unmatched.
Yeah.
And I also feel like the service, and I, like, will toot our horn all day, truly. It is very different than somebody that, like, you've said this before, literally, to quote the great Allie Mae, is a coordinator with their salt is not coming in on the day.
Right.
They're not even coming in 30 days before. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, at the 30-day mark, you want to be done. Essentially, like, you are sending out your timeline, you're like finalizing your seating chart, you're done around there.
Yeah.
3 weeks out, you're really done. If your coordinator is walking in at that point,
Yeah.
like, how do you know that you have everything that you need? That's
Yeah.
how I feel.
Or
Yeah.
how do you know you've budgeted for anything
For-
of the shit that you don't realize you miss?
Yeah.
You know?
I would look at it as a coordinator too as being really stressful. Like, we have gotten hired
I
really
don't
last
want
minute
to
for
work
stuff. Yeah.
with
And I'm like,
clients that are
no,
last
if we're
minute.
30 days out, it's already too late.
It's
Yeah.
because you don't have the
It's-
things that
Yeah.
you need to make sure that, like, I'm going to do a good job.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have all of these things in place, things are going to fall through the cracks, and I don't want to work an event where things are going to fall through the cracks. I want to do a good job, and I
Yeah.
want to make sure that you're happy.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's truly not because the venue doesn't want to do the work, or, like, because we're all in cahoots with each other and making money or anything. It's truly because people are like, I'm tired of seeing weddings go awry
Right.
without a coordinator.
Yeah.
Or I'm tired of working like a photographer or videographer being like, I am now the coordinator.
Mhm.
And now my work is suffering because I wasn't taking photos. I was running a timeline and
Yes.
lining up a bridal
The
party.
quality of service will go down the more that you keep asking me to do stuff that is not
Part of your job.
what you
Yeah.
asked me
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Period.
for sure.
Okay, well, that was a good one. That was a whole Pop the Champagne commercial.
Oh,
You can find
yeah.
us at popthechampagneevents.com, at Pop the Champagne on Instagram.
If you need booze,
And
there's
if you're
bottle
getting
service.
married in Austin, I'll be in Austin.
There you go.
Let's go. No, we're not happy about you leaving, but we're happy that you are leaving.
We're excited for you, is what he means.
How dare you.
Let me
Bye.
speak for my friend. We're excited for
Let me give you another analogy. No,
Oh
I'm
my
just
God.
I can't even do
Can't
it.
even think
I can't even do it. Okay, let's
Not having
see.
Carla is like
Is like-
having mac and cheese.
with no
no
cheese.
cheese.
Oh my God. That
Actually,
was a little better.
That was
Kind of.
It's kind of sad.
Oh my God, he's gonna cry.
See that? I was laughing. But I'll make it
Okay,
into
what's
the
the next
team.
one?
Okay, let's see.
Allie's hating me on this episode for sure.
Not
Oh.
at all. I love a roast. And I
Yeah,
was
it's just a
happy it
roast.
wasn't me.
So, yeah. No, you're this guest star today. We can't roast the guest star.
It's true.
Let's see. Okay, do you want to go with the questions that they have about the
Yeah.
wedding
Oh,
industry?
yeah,
let's
let's do
move
that.
on to that. Question number 1. How the fuck do you stay sane?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Weed?
Just skip right over that one. No, I don't have an answer.
I got this one a couple of times. Why do vendors jack up the prices when the event is labeled a wedding as
Oh,
opposed to
that's a
just a
good one.
party with food, drink, and dancing?
Hey,
Okay.
you want to go first?
Yeah, I have a lot to say on this because I mean, I don't think we get the question as much as coordinate, you know what I mean? We're like pretty wedding specific, but you do hear that a lot about cakes or about bands or DJs or
Photo,
whatever.
video.
Photo, video.
Mhm.
And the difference is because your wedding is not just a party at all. It is the
It's a wedding.
the pressure associated that goes along with it is 10 times more. The amount of hours that we will likely go in, even as a DJ, right? The amount of meetings and time that you have to put into it is totally different. Just like the scale is completely different. I'll say, speaking not from the coordination side, but I also have a bar business. We do both weddings and we do corporate events. Corporate events probably take me like an hour of planning and emails because the client is like, here's my credit card, this is what we want, blah, blah, blah. That's it. For a couple, well, I grew up in Alabama and I need to have this.
She's not lying.
And this whiskey is really important, and we have to have Guinness on tap because his uncle is. I'm not exaggerating, right? Like the amount of questions that go into it, the amount of
the amount of
pre-planning.
information we don't need that we get.
Yeah. And that's okay, but I'm happy to spend the time with those clients and answer those questions as vendors should be.
Yes.
We should not be brushing it off.
Yep.
But yeah, if someone is buying a birthday cake, do you think they're as specific as they are when they're planning their wedding cake? No. Like they're not the price is not the same because they are not the same.
Yeah.
Period. End of story.
Can you imagine? Also, people don't realize like going back to the DJ conversation, the difference between showing up and DJing a party versus like showing up and
DJing.
managing a processional
Right.
cue with music and the microphone and the sound check and making sure like all
And then
of
they're
that.
emceeing the whole
Yeah.
event,
Literally.
and then they're on the fly having to work. Like that's not happening at a corporate event or at a birthday party. Like it's
For sure.
not. So I just honestly it pisses me off because I'm like it's not the
Yeah.
same because it's not the fucking same.
Yeah.
I don't know if they, because I know we will get sensitive when asked that question of like, why is it so expensive? I think it's what's the phrase of like, you just don't know what you don't know. Because I think a lot of the pricing has to do with the experience that we have accumulated over the amount of weddings that we have worked and shot and service. So like when someone comes up and says, I want wedding videography, and let's just say take out all names and you look at person A who has Canon 80D or whatever it is, an old Sony, and no audio, but the quality of the video still looks really good. Guess what? That person's probably going to be charging like maybe $500. You can still get a good highlight video. You're not going to get good audio. You're only going to get one shooter. Who knows how much footage you're going to get? Who knows how long you know what I'm saying? But like, talk to somebody who's shot over 300 weddings, has had over 500 consultations, so they know what questions to ask. They know what's important to a couple. They know the service that they are good at providing. You know, like not everybody is the type of videographer I am, as not everybody is the type of planner that you are, or the, you know, so on and so forth.
You're paying for people's
You're
experience.
100% paying for the experience. So I think it's when you are thinking that question, why does it cost so much? It's because we have been doing this most likely for fucking years. And we do this almost every fucking weekend. And so you want to make sure that you're getting the best service that you can get, and you're getting the most bang for your buck. Absolutely. Yeah. That's why it costs expensive. That's why it's expensive. Yeah. It's because you want to make sure it goes seamlessly. If you want a little risk, Craigslist, hit them up. Totally. Facebook Marketplace,
and
hit them up.
Are you willing to do that for your wedding or not?
Exactly.
Yeah. Are you willing to do that maybe for your 35th birthday?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a cost. It can't take the good without the bad.
Yeah.
Like,
do you guys think that there is any vendor that is doing a comparable a level of work at a, I don't know, like a 50th birthday party or a wedding? Or do you feel like it's completely, because I feel like that's what these clients are wondering, is like, are there, or is every single person putting a wedding tax on?
I mean, I think you could argue that there are some really high end fancy events. Like, I mean, we have done some like really bougie birthdays, right, with the bar service.
Yeah.
But I would still argue that the planning and conversations and details are less than a wedding.
Yeah.
I think the
only ones would be like any sort of food delivery or like dessert delivery, like except for a wedding cake.
Just
obviously.
a delivery.
Like literally a
wedding
delivery.
Specifically though.
Yeah, well, that's because that's really the question. It's not why is wedding vendors expensive in general, but like the so-called wedding tax of
of like, if I'm getting a wedding cake, why is it more expensive than like a three-tiered birthday cake?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or
the band
can
a wedding band is $20,000, but you could hire your neighborhood band that works, at the bar for $1,000. But yeah, the experience is just going to be totally different. So
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like that one. It's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, the same thing goes for any DJ or even like any other couples will ask me of like, oh, what other photo video team do you recommend for our wedding day if I'm not free or they don't like my style or we're just not a good fit? I'll be like, well, here's a list of 4 other teams. They're all more expensive than me. Every single one. They're all more expensive than me. If I'm going to send you to somebody else, I'm going to send you to someone that I know that I would hire.
Yeah.
Either for myself or as like a different, like a super cinematic slow motion. You obviously want this person over here or this vendor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, I can still help you out and point you in the right direction based off your budget. But if in general I'm not available, then the people I'm referring, they're always more expensive than me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. A Kyle comment, but not a Kyle comment, is like I recently, I started seeing like a new hair girl and I love the way she blows out my hair, right? And we had a PTC photo shoot and I was like, I need you to blow out my hair for this photo shoot. She was like, I'm not available. I was like, well, do you have anybody that you recommend that you like? And she was like, honestly, no, nobody blows hair like me. And I literally was like, thank you for not sending me to some random person.
Absolutely.
Like, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because she genuinely was like,
that's a really baller comment though. I have no other recommendations
and
for you.
I kind of feel that way. It's like, I don't have anybody that does what I do.
Yep.
And
100%.
she made it like very acceptable for me to feel comfortable saying that. Because it's true. I do not know anybody in the business that does what we all do.
Yeah. I love that.
And it's not to say like she is the best in
No.
the world or I'm the best video. Absolutely not. Not even in the city of Orange am I probably the best. But I'm the best at what I do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And also like, your style and the way you work.
Yes,
and that's a good match for
That's what I
your
mean.
clients,
Exactly.
And so.
100%.
Okay, that's a good one. I like it.
Okay, let's see. Okay, this is a good one. I'll throw these 2 together.
Okay.
2 different people ask these questions. How do you get the most bang for your buck? And what are 3 things that you would recommend skipping or not doing when it comes to wedding and wedding planning? I feel like you guys have answered this in other episodes before, but if you can read
we have a whole episode on bang for your buck for sure. And I think it definitely relates to our honing your vision episode and also the workbook. Yeah. Just go back and listen to the whole podcast.
Seriously.
But yeah, I mean, I think prioritizing, like knowing that everyone has a budget, like whether it's $10,000 or $100,000, like you're on a budget. So you have to prioritize and you have to decide what's important. And I think it's different for everyone. So it's not like what are 3 things that I would skip, because it absolutely just depends. Personally, I would skip all paper goods.
I already know. I
think
flowers.
Well, Kyle hates flowers. I don't agree with that, but like I think
fuck programs.
I think signage and even invitations I think are dumb. Like, but that is, somebody is happy to spend $30 per invite because they love paper goods. So I don't think that that's it. I would invest in bar and music, but that's because I'm a lush.
It's what you guys always talk about.
Yeah.
Choose the 3 things that are important to you and fuck everything else.
Yeah. Yep.
And like spend the money there, and then nothing else matters, you know?
It's funny though, because you read the other answer that has to do with the custom details, because
she said the one about like honing your aesthetic or whatever.
Or if you pay attention to little details for the guests.
like it was like a fun.
Oh, that was from Claire. Claire from Marvin. Another shout out. We love you. Okay. She said, okay, so her advice for couples as a vendor was pick the 3 things that are most important to you and then don't sweat the rest of it. People will feel the things that matter to you, that have care put into them. Everything else they won't even remember.
I love it. Well, that kind of goes in line. No, there was one answer that was like, people notice all your fun personalized details.
Oh, that was the audio
one
message.
earlier.
Okay,
that
yeah.
was the audio message where
So-
she said leave room in your budget for the
room in your
things that like are like fun little details that people identify with you.
Yes. So, but that's like that was a leading question on my part, in the sense that it's funny because I often say that those are things that are a waste of money.
That's
like I
true.
think monogrammed, personalized, blah blah blah. Like people might for 4 seconds be like, "Oh my god, this cocktail napkin has their initials on it," but like I don't think anyone is remembering that like down the road.
It's funny because I'm usually like, oh wow, that's a really cool detail. All the napkins, I got it.
No,
Who cares
actually,
about the flower?
I think maybe
All
you're
thing.
desensitized to that a little. I think people do remember that kind of stuff.
Really?
Like I remember like the cat on the napkin, like or like
Or
the
dog
dog,
and
the
what was
pet
on the
details.
menu.
I always remember.
The menu, the
bar menu
signature,
that
the
has
signature,
Signature
cocktails.
cocktails named
Yeah.
after the
You know,
dog,
those
or like the
things.
dog cake toppers.
Yeah, I guess it's you're right. And it again, this is
There's
such a
sometimes,
personal like matter of what is important to you and what isn't.
For sure.
But and I think there are little ways, like including your animal names on a bar menu. That doesn't really cost money though, right? Like that you
No.
can make that on Etsy for free, or whatever on Canva for
Well,
free.
you still have to pay for a custom
So-
napkin versus plain
Yeah.
you know.
But I'm talking like there are couples who are like, they have a personalized bedazzled jean jacket, and then she's gonna change into this, and she's got shoes that have her fucking name on the bottom that she's never gonna wear again. You're never gonna wear those fucking shoes again that have your name on the bottom of the thing. You know what I mean? Like to me, that is
Got
where
real
I'm like,
heated about the shoes.
nobody noticed it. I don't know, but you're right. I could be totally desensitized.
There's
to those
it depends
details.
on the person, right?
Yeah.
Like if that's not your style, but you're getting those personalized details, then what the hell?
Yeah.
This couple that mentioned making room in their budget, that's what like who they were as
Right.
people. So they had like a zine that they made, and it wasn't just a program, it was like a magazine with all these photos and stuff. And that was like their artistic indie kind of style.
Yeah.
They had a merch table with like literally cups and t-shirts and hats of their stuff, and like their friends were willing to wear that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like if your friends are not those type of people and like that's not really your style, why are you wasting money on those things? It's all going in the trash at the end. So
if
it
it's-
really
if
is a
it's-
personal
Yeah,
thing.
if you're sentimental about the paper goods, then put the budget for the paper
Yeah.
goods. Like, exactly. Because I mean, take our own advice. Don't fucking listen to us. Do what you
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're doing
Buy
it
our
for the
workbook, but,
Pinterest, don't do it.
Okay,
exactly.
you're right.
Yes.
And that is always what it boils down to, right?
Yeah.
If TikTok has influenced you so much that your wedding will be a disaster if you don't have personalized cocktail napkins, then like fuck that,
No.
you know?
You just
For
imagine
sure.
a wedding day without the influence of social media.
Yeah, well,
If you can just actually think of like
I
uninterrupted.
literally wasn't alive.
I was gonna say honestly, no, but
I've
you-
never been
we
to
can't
one.
imagine
Yeah.
that.
No, I'm
yeah.
saying, but like uninterrupted, what would you want your wedding to look like? Don't go to Google. Don't go to ChatGPT. Don't go to Instagram. Don't go to.
Who's going to
Pinterest.
ChatGPT for like, what should my wedding look like?
I'm going to ChatGPT for literally everything.
He's just got ChatGPT on the brain right now. He's just really into it. But
businesses are.
what should my colors be? It's actually like a crystal ball. It's not like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but no,
but
the
no, you
inspo
know.
overload and decision fatigue and stuff like is huge, and it kind of just relates back to all of what we're saying though, right? Is like you have to make 10 million tiny decisions in the wedding planning process, things you never thought you'd care about, like napkin folds and what, like stupid shit. So you have to spend as little time, energy, money on the shit that you don't care about, because you'll make yourself crazy if every decision is this huge decision. Like, only decide your 3 things that are massive, and that's what you are. And it's not just money; you're just emotionally investing into.
Yeah, don't waste your breath on anything past your top 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Is that me? Oh yeah, sure.
Cleared. Not important.
My bad.
Yeah, but that's good. I feel like that's such an important one, and one that we will continue to go back to over and over again on the podcast. Is that
Your vision.
yeah, and that you have to prioritize, and that there are only a few things that you can make happen, and that's up to you what those 3 things are. Yeah.
Love it.
Did we hit all the major points, Karla?
We have one more. It's
Go
up to
for
you
it.
guys if you want to answer it. This is the one about the overhead
The overhead.
question.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So while weddings cost a ton, sometimes when I did the math, overhead seemed so expensive, or vendors spent a lot of time making the day actually happen. Which vendors are walking away with little to no profit in the end because of their time commitment? Which vendor types tend to go out of business because of low profit margins?
Well,
Is this a vendor asking this question?
No, this was a client.
This is a client.
This is
That's
a
such weird
client. Well,
question.
and we talked about it via text, and she was very much like, in the current economic climate, like how has inflation affected the wedding industry? And it was this whole conversation.
well, what
worried
I would
about our
say
jobs and the
is not so
economy.
much. I wouldn't break it down as like which vendors are making more, or whatever. But I'll say this in general is like wedding vendors aren't really making that much money in general. Like,
which I think would be shocking
Yes.
to a lot of people given
Yeah.
how expensive the industry is. But
Totally.
I 100% agree.
But like most of us are not rich. Many wedding vendors do it as a side hustle or have to have other side hustles to help that. So as expensive as these numbers seem as you're planning your wedding, oh my God, it's $3,000 for this, and like $3,000 plus all adds up.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you do have to break it down to the amount of equipment that your videographer bought, the amount of time that your planner is spending, and all of that. So I think really that's what it is. I don't know if I would break it down per, but just a reminder that like there's so much stuff behind the scenes that you're not seeing on the day.
Yeah.
Is there a warehouse that has to be rented to house all of this equipment? Or do they have to have a van to deliver this stuff? The amount of driving we do in LA is so wild, and it's probably not relatable in other parts of the country, but the amount of time that I fucking spend in traffic,
Yeah.
you
Well,
have to be
think-
compensated for all of that.
also, there's only 52 weekends a year.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right? Like there are
have a- you have a
52
finite number of
opportunities, and like half of those are like Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever. We're not working every single weekend. So in order for us to make a living on 52 weekends a year is actually really difficult without burning out.
Yeah.
And most of us are also weddings are seasonal, right?
Exactly. That's what I was getting
Yeah.
at. Is like most weddings usually aren't going to happen in like basically mid-November.
Yeah, there's like a
Until,
solid
like,
3 or 4
what,
months we're
And
not really doing
until,
weddings.
like,
90% of us
February, March?
require assistance, right?
Yes.
Assistance or,
Exactly.
like
Gotta hire a 1099, so there's another at least $400 to $600 per person.
yeah,
for
there
each
is
day.
a lot of overhead, and also like our package includes an unlimited amount of calls and emails, and that is time, right? That I'm getting paid for. But like if you break it down to hourly, I think this point this bride is making is actually really valuable. I appreciated the what's it called, like the awareness of that.
Yeah.
Not complaining at all, right? I think like we get paid reasonably for what we do, and I wouldn't work if that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
But I agree, like the amount of time and energy and effort and also like personal investment that I'm putting into my work is truly because I love the job.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not because I'm like, oh yeah,
No,
I'm
most-
writing it all the way to the bank.
No, most of us are not having that. But literally, just actually before we started recording, I was saying that wedding 2 weeks ago. I was like, I think I lost money on that. Like, even though I charge full price, there was so much that goes into it. However, there are weddings where I feel like I skated by with a little less hours on this. It was really straightforward.
That was good.
So I have to look at them as evening out in the end. But yeah, I just think it's an important note to say is that, yeah, vendors aren't rolling in the dough.
Yeah.
And it's appreciative to feel appreciated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't have. We have to be our own everything, our own admin, our own tax person,
Own sales,
our
marketing.
own sales, our own marketing. We have to do. I mean, we have our own personal lives, so we have to make our own investments. So yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's true.
When a couple pays, you're paying towards a 401k, you know,
Yeah.
or you're paying towards all these other things. Now I know legally we can't actually say like, oh, you're paying for my kid's daycare, you know, like.
Well, no, but it is an
it's your-
industry that's made up of small businesses, which
Yeah.
is a little bit different than.
And if
a
you
lot
think
of other
about
industries.
how many of those small businesses are couples, right? So like a lot of videographer, like husband wife
video.
couples, or I just blanked, but
Yeah.
just a lot of the couples, or like I contacted somebody recently and they were like, well, I have to find childcare because like, or like Wes and Margot, for example, Wes from Good Mood and Margot is a photographer too. If they're both hired on a wedding or they're both working that weekend, they now have to pay for childcare.
Yeah.
So it's like that, and it's because weddings are on weekends and stuff like that. And obviously this is the case in industries universally.
Totally.
But I think in understanding where the money goes is really valuable to clients and understanding what they're paying for, and also why things like gratuity and service fees and all of that is incorporated in
and
costs.
tip your vendors.
Tip your vendors.
But that's true because they're really not making that much money. So if it feels like that extra
Oh my God.
$100 tip is
Dude,
like,
those
we
tips-
actually appreciate it a lot.
It makes a difference.
Fucking
It makes a
nice.
big difference.
Yeah, it totally
Yeah.
does. And I will say that a lot of clients are so grateful for the tip sheet that you made us at Pop. Like
The workbook.
90% of them are like so happy that they're like, thank you for writing exact numbers.
Yeah,
It goes
the
back to the
guidance.
transparency. You know, a lot of people may have been like, oh, that's really forward to like write exactly how much you're going to tip each person, including us.
Yeah.
But I think people really appreciate that because again, they don't know.
They
what
don't
they
know. Yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like we covered a lot.
We did.
Are you coming back?
I'm coming back. I just had to get Karla's. I had to get Karla's cam for the ending.
Sorry, I broke it. I'm just
How
so
dare
beautiful.
Too pretty. They say that a lot about Pop the Champagne Girls too. We're really good at our jobs, but we're just like too pretty.
We're just really pretty.
It's a great.
So you
problem.
agree?
It's a
You
great.
think-
it's
you
a
think
great
we're really
problem
pretty.
to
You
have.
think we're really pretty?
It's a great problem.
Well, thank you to Karla. Cheers for being our wonderful guest today and doing all that research, and to all the vendors and clients that gave us
love you
feedback
guys.
because I think
Yes.
that was really valuable.
Yeah.
It was, and they were
Like-
so happy to like contribute to the conversation.
Yeah.
I love it.
I feel like this was like a lot of information in kind of like a dense way. So I hope that people can really like,
Vendor and client feedback.
yeah, really
Yeah.
like look into it because that was super helpful. So cheers.
Cheers.
Do you want to say it?
What do I say? See you next Tuesday.
Peace.
Bow, bow, bow. Is that the outro?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
DJ.
No, it's the DJ
Lighting.
light. Do you want the lights or do you want the lights?
Oh, Lord.